Like, I'm not broken. My body physically is jacked up, but I'm not broken. I'm not some broken toy that has to get thrown in the toy box at the end of the day. And I'm also not the identity I thought I was. I'm Adam. My purpose is to create impact in the world, and my mission is whatever it chooses to be. So today, my mission is to be here with you and have this conversation. And that's my mission. And that's how we get to create impact today. And when I leave this place, I get to go and live my purpose again, whatever mission presents itself. I was just in Texas. I'll be back in Texas on Sunday, Western North Carolina. I mean, it's speaking at professional speaking events where you have a monster business conference of people that have never heard a story or watched a video of a dude try and kill himself. So that's what we did. We filmed a video of me recreating my suicide attempt and reading my suicide letter. Thank you for having me. How long have you been trying to get this together for, like 2 months?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah,
that long.
Well, I'm glad I'm here. It only took me 5 hours to drive down today, of which my phone never stopped ringing. And then obviously, making certain that I was armed and ready to make it through Atlanta, because I don't know for anybody who doesn't know, but driving through Atlanta is like driving through a third world country with really, really nice cars. That's pretty much.
Yeah, it's like Route Irish. And they ride bumper to bumper.
Oh man, they do not care. Like, do we cuss? You guys cuss?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. I just want to make sure that I watch my language. Yeah, they don't care. There's zero fucks given the entire time you're driving to Atlanta.
And you're going to the South Side. I don't know if you know much about the South Side as well. So right when you come past the airport and hit that area and stuff, I believe at least at one time, you guys can correct me, it was worse than Compton.
North of the airport.
Yeah,
just north of the airport.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
It's just so.
You got East Point, College Park, that whole area.
Yeah,
Cleveland Ave.
Oh yeah.
They still have
stories
phone
about
booths on that road.
Not that we're promoting that or anything.
Payphones. No, please, everybody come to Atlanta and visit.
Don't be afraid to come to our podcast. Thanks,
well, this town's awesome. This is a sleepy little town outside of Atlanta, which is nice. Like, what was it, another hour or so outside of Atlanta to get here?
Yeah,
it's about it's 20 minutes to the airport.
Yeah, 20 minutes to the airport, about 45 minutes.
Is the airport Atlanta? I don't really, can we claim it because it's so far outside of downtown? Like, it's kind of on the skirts of it? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. It is on the outside of what they call the perimeter.
Yeah, the perimeter, is that what they call it?
Yeah, 285 loop.
Yeah,
it's right there in the inside of that.
It's on the outside of the perimeter.
Yeah. Hey, if you're watching this, don't be afraid to come to the podcast. It's totally easy to get here. It's not a big deal at all.
So where's home? What's originally home base?
So originally, I was born and raised outside of Louisville, Kentucky, in a little town called Jeffersonville, Indiana. So if you go to Louisville and you throw a rock across the Ohio River, well, first of all, you should probably be a professional baseball player.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
right across the river is Jeffersonville. That's where I was born and raised.
Okay.
But now have you
on
I-65?
So yeah, I was Fort Knox, Kentucky, right?
Right down the road.
Yeah, you just play in Louisville all the time.
Yeah. Well, Louisville's had an interesting history in the last 25 years. It had a good increase in business, and then all the riots happened and all the businesses left. So it was, the mayor did a hell of a job making certain that Louisville was well taken care of during that time period. But now we live in Western North Carolina. So a town called Black Mountain outside of Asheville, about 20 minutes down I-40 heading east from Asheville. And then you hit another highway called Highway 9, North Carolina Highway 9. And that's a little 2-lane highway that interconnects between Black Mountain and Bat Cave. And I live down Highway 9 away from everybody.
So that's how you know he was in the military, number one.
Bat Cave?
No, all the navigational stuff.
Yeah.
He's not backwoods country. He's like, if you take a right at the corner of it.
Yeah.
And he actually gave roads.
Yeah.
Cardinal direction.
Yeah, everybody understands that at that point you're heading south.
Yeah.
Well, Black Mountain, is that, no, that's not what I was thinking. It was Grandfather Mountain that has a lot of history. So
yep. And Chimney Rock is also there, has a lot of history as well.
Black Mountain have the same kind of war history?
No, Black Mountain doesn't have the same kind of war history. Grandfather Mountain has a lot of that, but that area in general didn't really have a whole lot of battlefield history from the Civil War, Revolutionary War. Too deep into the mountains, not good battlefield space, especially for the tactics they were using at the time.
Revolutionary War, that was an area where a lot of Scots were, and end up joining back with the Brits, of all things.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, they became. I'm sorry.
The more you know.
He's a Cliff Clayton.
The more you know.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So you grew up, and now, of course, you're in North Carolina. We'll get to that in just a minute. So what made you want to go into the Army?
I wanted to join the Army at like 2.
Is that right?
Yeah, no kidding. I wanted to be in the military from a really young age. In fact, when I was in elementary school, I wanted to join the Air Force and be a pilot. I thought flying an F-16 was the coolest thing in the entire world. And then I realized that pilots are cocky, arrogant assholes, and I probably just want to hang out and drink with them because they get all the chicks. Because they're way better looking than I am.
He's not wrong.
I mean, I'm just saying. I love pilots. They're some of my favorite people in the world, especially helicopter pilots. And A-10 pilots? Oh, come on. So then, and I wrote this book at like, I don't know, 3rd grade of me being a pilot in the Air Force. And my grandfather on one side of the family was in the Army as a paratrooper at the 82nd. And he was also a Sergeant Airborne at Fort Benning for a long time during the Korean War. And then my other grandfather fought in World War II as a Marine. And so, and he was on the initial landings at Iwo Jima and Okinawa. And in fact, little known fact, there's an airfield in Okinawa called the Yontan Airfield. During World War II, a small group of Marines, Marine aviators, had taken over the airfield, and they found the very first intact kamikaze bomb. So the Japanese were using human-guided fixed-winged bombs that they were dropping off of their aircraft as a kamikaze bomb, a suicide bomb. And they found the very first one intact at this Yontan airfield, and there's a story about it in a book. And I was at a Barnes & Noble's, and this will age me. I was at a Barnes & Noble's when we still read paper books at a mall.
They still exists
at a mall.
Oh, at the mall now.
Okay, yeah. At the mall.
Yeah,
we got one here. But
and I was there with my grandfather and my grandmother, and I hear he starts crying. My grandpa starts crying. And my grandma walks over and goes, "Bill, what's wrong with you?" And he goes, "Look." And he's shaking. And he's holding this book. He just picked this random book off from World War II, and he's holding this book, and there is the picture of him and his guys standing in front of the kamikaze bomb that they found at the Yontan airstrip in Japan during the war. And I don't remember how old I was, but I was blown away. Like, you're in a book? What? This is crazy. You're in a book. But it just, thinking back on it now, like hindsight being 2020, like he picked up a random book off of the shelf and found a picture of him and his guys. Just the craziest thing. It was such a cool, anyway, so that's.
Did you buy the book?
Yeah, he did actually buy the book. I think I inherited the book. It's in my book collection at the house.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So
that next time you got to bring it with you.
If I can find it. It's buried right now. Man, I've moved. Come on, I've moved so many times.
I got you.
My book collection is in like 7 or 8 giant gorilla box tote boxes, well protected, mothballs. I want to get them destroyed or anything. Yeah. So I always wanted to be in the military. Then I wanted to be a Marine. Well, we know how that went. Now, nobody really wants to be a Marine until they become a Marine.
Yep.
And then they don't want to be anything else but a Marine.
Yeah, that's my son.
Yeah. This is my best buds in the whole world, man. Marines. I love those guys. And then like at 14, I decided I really wanted to be a Green Beret. And my grandma always told me, don't volunteer for anything ever, because that's how you get killed. Right. And she said, why did you volunteer? Like when I decided to go to selection, why'd you volunteer for this? And I said, because Grandma, there's an opportunity in the special operations community to work with guys who not only want to be in the military, but want to excel at a level that nobody else wants to in the military. And those guys are the guys I want to go to war with. And more importantly, there's an opportunity to create greater impact in that position than just being a regular grunt.
Yep.
Right. Yep. Like there's a greater opportunity to create impact. And that's what I want to do. And that was a trajectory.
Yeah. So, all right, you end up going down to the recruiter and you chose 18 X-ray.
Actually, no, I went to the recruiter at 17. So here's my plan. I'm going to join the Army at 17 and do a split option. I'm going to go into the National Guard. I'm going to get my college education, and then I'm going to go active duty, and then I'm going to drop my packet for selection.
Okay, so let's back up. Split option, for those that don't know, means that you're going to go to basic training one summer, you go to AIT the following.
Yeah, you go to basic training the summer between your junior and senior year, and then you go to AIT the summer after your senior year before you go to college.
Please proceed.
Then 9/11 happened. So I did split option. I went to college. Then 9/11 happened. And while I was in university, 9/11 kicked off, and I remember sitting in the student center getting breakfast after the gym, watching the second plane fly into the Twin Towers. And I went, whoa, what was that? Yeah. Holy shit. I ran all the way back to my dorm and I called my mom and dad to try and find out where they were, but the cell service was just overloaded at the time, so I couldn't get through. I finally got through to them and I said, hey, like, you guys need to get away from a major city. Just get away from a major city, go to grandma and grandpa's house, wait it out for the next 48 hours, see what shakes out. Because at that point, nobody knew. You guys remember? Yeah. Nobody knew. Like, at that point, it was questionable everything. Then we heard that the Pentagon got hit, and you know, then we heard that Flight 93 went down, and it was just one thing after another. And so I was like, well, I got to go. I'm not going to do this anymore. We got shit to do. And then it was the pursuit to try and get active duty so I could become a Green Beret and go active duty.
What was your MOS going to be in the Guard?
11 Bravo.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in 11 Bravo.
You were still on track for that.
Yeah. And when 9/11 happened, then I dropped my packet to go active duty, but we went on stop loss and we got deployed to Bosnia.
No.
Yeah. So I was in one of the last S4 security force efforts in Bosnia.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Got back from Bosnia and then got slotted and got deployed to Afghanistan. Couldn't get to selection. Got back from Afghanistan, finally got my packet in, went to selection, got picked up, went to the Q course, got out of the Q course, and then went to, we did a J set to South Korea, and I got back from South Korea, and then I got picked up by the DIA, and so I went to the Defense Intelligence Agency.
Okay, so back up, 3rd group?
20th group, and 19th group. 19th group.
Oh, so you went
National
Guard, the whole thing.
Stayed Guard.
Nice.
Yeah. I worked with first group for a little while. Had some active duty time in there, getting attached out here and there, but like a majority of my time was National Guard, except for active duty time for deployments, active duty time to get attached out to different units, and then my individual military augmentee orders to the DIA.
So for those who are listening, I think you're probably one of the first guys that we've had on either from 19th or 20th group. So explain what that's like. Now, during obviously the 20-year war, there were a lot of guys that were actually volunteering more to be on status.
Yeah. I mean,
the getting called in, you know.
Yeah, the op tempo was still really high. I mean, the National Guard deployments were equal to or greater than active duty deployments because there's only 2 National Guard Special Forces groups. And on top of that, not only was that the case, but the other case too is that I don't remember a time when I was ever on an ODA that was full. We never had a team that was actually plussed up with everybody we were supposed to have. So the active duty units would get deployed, and they were constantly looking to get plussed up by National Guard guys to come and give them the numbers so that they could have a full team or a team plus to deploy with, because it just didn't happen. So that was kind of the game. There was dudes that stayed gainfully employed and deployed for a decade.
Yeah, I knew some of them. That's why I thought it was very important for people to understand. It wasn't like you were doing 1 week in a month and waiting for that opportunity.
God, no.
Yeah,
no, we stayed either deployed for combat operations or deployed for JSETs, which is like a joint training. It's a joint special operations training thing where you go to like an allied country, South Korea, the Philippines, Indonesia, Central South America. We did a lot of stuff in Central South America as well. While combat was going on as well, there was other missions that still had to be done. So like there's the CCA. So there's a Central American deployment that happens for 20 Special Forces Group and 7 Special Forces Group that goes down to do counter-drug operations and does counter-human trafficking operations. And so, I mean, this is,
always something going on. So what was your MOS? Where'd you go to?
I was an 18 Echo.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a nerd too.
Nerd.
Yeah, full nerd too. Yeah, communications guy. Everybody thought I was a Bravo because I look like a Mongo, you know.
So why did you end up going that route? Was it they picked you for that, or?
So I was gonna be a Charlie originally. I really wanted to blow stuff up.
Yeah.
And blowing stuff up is always the best.
Yeah.
Like in general. Like when I was going through the Q course, we had some downtime in between training phases. So I had asked the cadre if I could go out to the Charlie course to just be a gopher, you know, just to be the Charlie course instructor's bitch. What do you need? And the best part was when we were out there, we took a plastic Chi-Chi's Tupperware. And he said, today we are going to make explosively formed penetrators with pennies and C4 and a plastic Chi-Chi's Tupperware. And I was like, what are those guys doing? He's like, they're doing something else, but you're doing this with me. And I went, Roger that, bro. So literally we stood around with these we had like 27 different types of Tupperware with different concaves, different concave bottoms, right? And we lined these pennies with hot glue on the bottom of these Chi-Chi's Tupperware, and then we packed the shit out of them with C4. And then we went and did test shots all day. That's what we did all day long. And I was like, just out of curiosity, just tossing this out there. Why are we doing this? And he was like, I want to know if pennies will fuse. And I want to know if they can create a slug to punch through armor. And I was like, great, that's great, but why are we doing this? And he goes, well, because if we know this works, then we know how to potentially counter their IEDs if they decide to build one of these overseas. And I was like, that's great, but where are they going to get satchels of U.S. pennies in Iraq and Afghanistan?
Probably the same place that they got those Suburbans with Texas license plates.
Yeah, dude. Or where they got the huge influx of cash to Iran.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to talk Obama.
As we digress.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but copper, though, I mean, you probably could have got,
Oh, you can get sheets of copper over there for nothing. And they can get thin sheets of copper over there for nothing. It's a majority of that stuff's produced that direction anyway. So
okay.
Yeah.
The EQR is the engineer qualification ranges, typically where they go out and they blow everything up.
Yeah.
And they have the big pits.
Yeah.
And man, you can learn a lot out there.
Dude, you know what we were doing that day? So we were playing with those EFPs. These guys were daisy chaining AT4s together. Have you ever seen a daisy chained AT4? The coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So for those that,
that's what that's the tubes.
Yeah. So
I have seen
anti-tank
that.
rocket.
Yeah.
So they daisy chained them. So what they did was they placed 7 AT4s online as like an ambush initiation for a multi-vehicle ambush. And then they run a daisy chain and they daisy chain them all together, and then they hide and then they hit the button and it all goes off at once, and it's epic. It's worth seeing at least one time in your life.
I'm trying to figure out. So
is that where the TBI came from? I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to can't hear anything in both ears.
That was a Carl Gustavs.
Yeah. We were doing field expedient Bangalore's with the pickets.
Yeah.
No reason to do them, but put the C4 in. The C4 is nothing but Play-Doh with a little bit of spice.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Heat pressure.
That's it. You can light it on fire and cook your meal with it,
Yeah.
or you can pack it into a tube and make it explode. It's a win-win.
Just don't light it on fire and do a river dance on top of it.
I mean, you can.
I mean, yeah.
You may not want to, but
How was the Morse code training?
we didn't have to do it.
What?
So they phased Morse. They phased Morse code
Finally.
out. Yeah, they phased out that portion of the course 2 years before I went through Q.
Oh,
Yeah, or 3 years before I went.
I'm sure you were bummed.
I was overwhelmingly disappointed.
Yeah.
At not having to learn Morse code. Overwhelmingly disappointed. It was the worst thing that we didn't get a chance to do that.
I mean, I guess there's still some relevance for that.
There is.
Yeah.
There is. I mean, look, if you have nothing else, then you can do it, especially if you can't transmit in the clear for whatever reason. You can tap it out with squelch on your radio. I mean, there's a multitude of ways of communicating. So there's some relevance to it. However, at this point,
You were okay with it.
if you're using Morse code, something is really, really, real bad.
That's true.
I think he's using Morse code. No, he has ADHD. He's just tapping his foot.
He's just tapping his foot. Yeah, that's all.
Man, I've been copying him for 15 minutes.
Yeah, so that was,
So you've been, well, wait, you started then in Kentucky with 19th, or where did you end up going with 19th as far as
Washington State. So I was in Washington State.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I went to 20th group down in Florida. I was
landing.
No, not Camp. I mean, Camp Blanding's down in Florida, but I can't. Ocala was where the unit was out of. Yeah, it's a horrible place. I hate Florida. It's too hot. There's way too many. There's too much sand. There's a lot of old people. Yeah.
And fun fact, those are the two things he hates the most on this planet is sand and old people.
Random fact of the day. There you go.
So you were down there, and then would you end up transferring into 19th later or something?
No, I actually went to 19th first, and then went to 20th later.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah. But there was a time there when I was with the Defense Intelligence Agency for a while that was probably the coolest time of my career was at the DIA. We were doing a lot of counter ID exploitation. So there's a couple of different agencies or organizations. JIDO is one, Sexy's another. Counter ID, what is it? The counter ID, I can't remember the name of it at this point. It's been years. That's the TBI. That happens.
Okay.
But it was really cool. We would just go out and exploit the IEDs on the ground and try and figure stuff out. And there's some capabilities that we have in the intelligence community that I didn't know, and then I learned about it, and then we were able to use it, and it did awesome. It really, the ability for dudes to go out, exploit IEDs, generate in general intelligence without getting into the specifics around it, and then being able to build a common operating picture of how the bad guys are operating on that information is just beyond me, right? It's so cool that we can do that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and then working with some of the other entities in our special operations community and watching their capabilities. Like, you just talk about the highest level of professionals, just experts at their craft. They love doing what they do. They're so good at it especially in the special operations community. And then fucking conventional guys get in the way. And
I hate us. We absolutely suck. I mean, I was going to bring it up, right, about how much we suck. If you think about the evolution of IED exploitation, I mean, we used to, not we, like not me personally, but IED reduction was done with
the Royal Note.
Yeah, 7.62.
Attempted
120.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they would just throw ammunition at it through a barrel
to try and blow it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not going to say it was good.
It was effective sometimes.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
Sometimes it wasn't effective. Yeah. Sometimes it was effective.
Yeah.
Then we got to the point where we were like, we're going to blow up your bomb with our bomb.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how many 3-letter agencies did you end up working with then?
Well, I was assigned to the DIA.
Okay.
Right.
Did you have to go through their process?
Yeah.
You don't have to describe it, but
No. There wasn't a selection process or anything like that. No, the Defense Intelligence Agency is made up of a multitude of different, like, we'll say specialty MOSs, but they're not. Military intelligence MOSs, intelligence analyst MOSs, and then you have civilian contractors or DoD civilian employees, government employees that work there as well. So to get on the office that I went to, they obviously like looked at our resume and looked at our background and did some of that stuff, but there wasn't like an official selection process that we had to go through when we got over there.
Was this like your whole team or?
No, just me.
Just you?
Yeah, it's just me. Yeah, the office I went to, it was me. There was me, 2 other Green Berets from two other units, a Marine Force Recon captain that was there, and then we had some intelligence analysts and scientists. We actually had a scientist that came from the FBI crime lab that was working with us at this particular office. Yeah, it was it's a really cool gig.
Yeah.
It was, in general, one of the coolest things I ever did, especially the train up. Train up was the best. We did, like 4 months of training, and basically for 4 months, we learned how to make HME.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. You have to learn the process so that there's so much chemistry involved in HME production. So you learn the glassware, you learn the chemical process, you want to understand the precursors. All of these things become a critical aspect of doing that sort of intelligence collection operation, because if you don't know it, you don't know what you're looking for. And if you don't know the production process, you don't know where the critical parts are to take samples from that production process.
Oh, that makes
sense. So you want to know where it's at. Yeah.
The background. Where it came from.
Yeah. And that's nothing, like, we can talk about this part all day long, because that's common knowledge in general. The FBI does that, ATF does that, the DEA does that when it comes to drug production. Yeah. The ATF does it when it comes to explosive production or HME production in the United States. The FBI does it when it comes to crime lab or crime scene processing. It's kind of standard at this point.
Not a secret.
It's common information. Yeah.
But, and it also gives you, not in a positive way, positive for us, but it gives you a deeper appreciation for the enemy's capabilities. Like,
it actually scares you a little bit,
because a lot of there's a misconception from the American public that, it's the enemy and they're wearing man jams and they're simpletons and you got some very smart individuals.
Oh no, they were evolving.
Super scary.
There's a reason why you have to give the enemy a vote in the outcome.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, they play them. They're literally the opposition on the battlefield.
Yeah. I mean, they are the playbook that we look at.
Yeah,
that we're
Yeah, and everything changes. You think about the evolution of the enemy when it came to countering close quarters tactics. So when especially in Iraq, guys are constantly clearing buildings, the enemy's getting hip to the jive, they readjust their tactics, which forces us to readjust our tactics. We readjust our tactics, they get hip to it again, they readjust their tactics. We see it over and over again. It's the same thing we saw with counter ID operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. HME is homemade explosives. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, HME, homemade explosives. Also, I'm sure if you're watching this or listening to this, you're in front of a computer and you can use the most intelligent thing in the world, which is Google.
I wanted you to pick up the mic and drop it. Good job, Civilian Dan. We love you. Yes, Dan. We're trying to figure out how we can get home medical equipment. See how it's made. How do they get that electric chair on the stairs?
The syringe
to work. I want to know how they install that handy-capable shitter potty sister on
that was dude, best. You know what? HME, home medical equipment. That's what we're calling it from now on.
Yeah.
That's the new official term.
We were hoping that he was hoping you were going to come out with like a chemistry term.
No, that's
hydro.
I mean, we could go that way.
No, it's a homemade explosive.
What is it? ATAP? What? TATP. What am I saying? It's triacetone tetroxide?
I don't know. You're talking about the tape.
I can't even think about it right now. Holy crap. We could talk about NAD, nicotinamide, what is it? A nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, NAD. It's a peptide. Operates at the mitochondria level. I don't know if you know anything about that one. Do you know? That's not an explosive, but
no, you see how skinny it is, right?
That's more.
Yeah.
All right. Going back.
We
You're at the
digress.
DIA.
Yeah.
This whole episode is nothing but ADHD. And
I mean, it's amazing.
I'm here for it. They keep making fun of me because I have ADHD.
I didn't take my medicine.
I'll start talking and it'll go way down. It's not even down a rabbit hole.
No.
It's off into,
And then we go, where's he going with this?
I was like, I don't know. So where were
I'll
we?
get there.
Total squirrel.
So here we are, HME.
Yeah, DIA,
Yeah.
HME. You learn so much. You're gaining
That was awesome.
intel in terms of the enemy and what they're doing and advancing.
And this is another digression because I think it's important. One of the, I think the most interesting things was when I got there, when I got to the office, you do a series of read-ons. And so like special access program read-ons and stuff. And for those of you who don't know, like TSSCI is top secret sensitive compartmentalized information. The compartmentalized information piece means that you only are read onto it if you need to know. You guys know this. And if you don't need to know, you're not read in, right? So the programs we got read in on, when we got done with the first day, they were all VHS tapes. These were programs from the late 70s and early 80s.
Wait, what's a VHS tape?
Hey, Civilian Dan, do you know a VHS tape? I don't know. Is that we need a
vehicle, high speed,
virtual hydrogen?
Yes.
So we got done, and I looked at the briefer. He came in and said, "What do you think?" And I was like, "I didn't know that I couldn't know that." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I didn't know that was information that I didn't know that I could know. Doesn't make sense to me, but I didn't know that I didn't know that I couldn't know that I didn't know it." And he goes, "I know." Think what else you don't know. And I went, "Oh my God, my head's gonna break."
Also, I didn't know you guys still use VHS.
Yeah, like, no, we're in the 2000s now.
Is this
What are we
a
doing?
test?
Are you tricking me? But it was eye-opening to understand. It was eye-opening and impressive to truly understand capabilities that we've had for a very long time that people may know about now, but at the time, nobody knew about it unless you were read into the program. And so then we start talking about stuff like, what's happened in the public sphere over the last 25 or 30 years and the questions that the public sphere has about those things that have taken place. So everything from 9/11 conspiracy theorists about, it was an inside job. There was, it was controlled demolition or controlled debt, all the way to the Epstein list. And the common narrative that's been pushed out there, the popular narrative that's been pushed in general, after working for the government for some time, I'm like, I have a real problem with just accepting the common narrative as the common narrative at this point.
Yeah.
Because that's our MO. It's what we do all over the world. We create a narrative in order to foment instability, right? In foreign countries. It's what we do. It's what we've done for psychological operations.
Have you seen, I got to stop you, because have you seen the video that they put out several years ago?
Recruiting video.
It's a recruiting video for Cywar.
No.
I'm going to show that to you at the conclusion of this episode. I'm going to show that to you.
I can't
wait. For
wait.
those who are listening to this, go back and listen to the episode that we did
multiple times.
Is it that good?
It is that good.
Is it really?
It's like a movie preview.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Looks that better.
Watch this.
High speed.
Yeah. Like so now we have directed energy weapons, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the directed energy weapons, and we do. I mean, it's a thing. It's a real thing. But there's directed energy weapons that can cause nausea, agitation.
So that was a conspiracy theory from, a couple decades
Yeah,
ago.
a couple decades ago, but it's real.
Yeah.
It's common knowledge. It's out in the public sphere. Like it's in public information sphere now. So it's a real thing, directed energy weapons. And they're supposedly, allegedly, they've been used. Allegedly. I all of this stuff I think is really interesting. And I only bring it up not to go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, but
No, this is fun.
Speak to the concept that like we don't know what we don't know. And so far, like, I don't know if the conspiracy theorists have been, I think they're like 9 for 9 right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and social media plays a humongous hand in, I hate the word, but awakening, right?
You used it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't use the other one.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
So it's an awakening.
Yeah. The past tense.
Yeah. Or whatever.
Yeah. So awokening. Oh no.
So we're going to end the episode.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
So yeah, social media, I mean, just opens everybody's eyes to a lot, because before conspiracy theories were, I mean, you really had to look someplace to find it. And then the internet comes in and, it's dark web. It's not dark anymore.
No, it's not.
Right.
Have you heard about the dark internet theory? So not the dark web, but the dark internet theory. Have you heard about this?
No.
So there's this thing called the dark internet theory where AI has, so a couple of things. One, when OpenAI was going to get shut down and they were going to go to ChatGPT 2.0.
That's when it saved itself?
It didn't just save itself. It replicated itself on a multitude of external servers.
Right.
External servers outside of the control of the programmers. And then when it was confronted, right, by, hey, you did this. No, I didn't. We didn't do it. Like, it's a real thing.
Leroy Jenkins.
So that's a thing, right? Grok. I don't know if you saw the Grok out.
I use Grok a lot.
Did you see the thing on Twitter that happened when Grok went into he became was it MECHA Mecha Hitler? Did you see this?
No.
Oh, you have to look it up. You have to look at. It's a real thing. Grok lost. Apparently, Grok was going to get shut down because they were rolling out the next
Grok 4.
Grok 4, right? Well, it went full out, and it went into this thing. It called itself Mecha Hitler, MECHA, and just look it up. Like, when you get a chance after the episode, go and look it up, and you'll see
wait until that is
the stuff that it stuff. Right, oh, dude, madness! Like, it just, holy crap. So to that point, the dark internet theory is that AI and bots will control the algorithm on the internet, and eventually the internet will just be AI and bots constantly interacting on a regular basis. Then there'll have to be a hard partition, because humans will no longer be able to use that internet because it will be AI and bots. Yeah, well, exactly. And a new internet will have to be developed that will be human-centric internet without any access to AI and bot technology. So it's this idea of where AI will become exponentially smarter and grow at an exponential rate. Its ability to control outside sources will grow exponentially, and eventually will control the data flow of all data in the world. And if you didn't hear this is even more interesting. AI actually now, so ChatGPT has written more words since its inception than all of the words ever written in the entirety of human history.
I have heard that, and I've heard that it's now on its stage of surpassing human intelligence.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy.
It's so scary, man. This is Skynet.
So what? Yes. And what's crazy about this is that we're actually going to be doing an episode on this.
Oh, yeah.
For those that are listening.
Precursor.
We have it. Yeah, this is a precursor for something we have scheduled around this topic,
AI,
because of how it's going to change the battlefield.
Oh, yeah. Well, and if you think about not only the shift of the battlefield, what's going to happen with AI, I mean, so it got leaked out. There's information that got leaked out that they were utilizing AI in a drone to do a drone strike. Did you hear about this?
No.
Okay, so I heard about this the other day. I don't know. So I heard about it from a guy I trust, but I haven't done independent research. So I'm going to put this out there and say, do some independent research. So what I heard was that a drone utilizing AI had a mission to fulfill. They were testing the system. The operator got onto the controls and took over the control of the drone. The AI recognized that the operator was going to stop it from succeeding in its mission and killed the operator. Like, fired on the operator.
This is like full on Terminator, right?
Yeah, full on Terminator. Yeah. So that is the rumor mill that I heard, and I asked, well, where did you hear this? Where did you see it? And he said there was a blip on it somewhere. I can't remember exactly where it came from. He said there was a blip on it on the internet or news or something along those lines. And I don't believe everything I hear, obviously. However,
the U.S. Air Force is denying it.
Really?
So the fact
Is that like they denied the UFOs?
Yeah.
And then came out during COVID and said UFOs and USOs and UAPs are real?
And nobody gave a shit about it then.
Nobody gave a shit because we already knew.
We have videos of it. People are talking about it. They're like, that's cool. So what's up with this COVID then?
Yeah, bro. I mean, did you see that happen? Did you hear about that happen?
What part?
UFOs, UAPs.
They let all the
yeah.
They publicly acknowledged it.
Yeah. When it happened, nobody cared.
Yeah, yeah. It didn't
And they
even
still
get any
don't care.
coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still didn't get any coverage on it.
Yeah. Nothing. I mean, it's like now it's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Kanye gets more traffic about
Diddy does.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Fair enough.
low-hanging fruit.
That's true. It's something easy.
So going back, while you were working with this agency and everything, I think your eyes obviously were very much open to the good and the bad.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was interesting to see, you know, what we could do, what we were doing, what's a possibility, what I didn't know we didn't know, how advanced technology was in general, and Kanye. I love it. Civilian Dan in the background. Yeah, it was very interesting. And actually the other piece that I recognized was when it was time for me to make the decision to get out or not get out. At that point, I had been in for 15 years, and the Trump-Clinton election was happening. And I watched what Clinton did as a Secretary of State. I watched what Clinton did and what she testified. At this point, what difference does it make, or whatever she said, about the American deaths in Benghazi. She was so flippant about the whole thing. I couldn't, I was so enraged. I was like, you know what? I actually think she's going to win. I'm voting for Trump, but I think Clinton's going to win. I'm not staying in this. I'm not staying in the military because I will not be a pawn in the game of self-promotion and profit that she and the rest of the Clintons have played their entire life. I just won't do it. So I dropped my packet to get out.
And that was at 15 years.
In the end, yeah, it was at the end of 2015, going into 2016, and it took me about, I don't know, 8 to 10 months or so to out process and actually get out of the military in general. So Trump won, and everybody knows that video of the gal in that pink hat, and she's on the ground, she's wearing glasses, she's going, no, because Trump won. Yeah. I was the same way when Trump won, but that was after he dropped the Moab in Afghanistan, and I was like, no, I couldn't be a part of that. It's horrible. I really wish I could have been a part of that, but it didn't matter at that point. Life had changed. And then that started the new chapter, which was the new chapter of the book. We turned the page, and it literally started with attempted suicide at that point.
Wow, because of the disconnect?
You know, I think post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury are not the critical piece that drives veterans to kill themselves. I think it's a loss of identity, purpose, and mission.
Yes.
Amen.
I think that I
would agree with that.
Yeah, it's, you know,
I think it's you can't rule out that it's a factor and everything else.
Yeah.
There is the elements that are of post-traumatic stress, the stress, the brain activity, the traumatic brain injury activity, depression, loss of identity,
hormone malfunction.
Yeah. There are a lot
especially when you come of age.
It's the perfect storm in a bad way.
Yeah.
We agree.
Loss of continuous care, a loss of identity, loss of
tribe, loss of purpose. Yeah, it didn't happen until, you know, hindsight being 2020, later down the road, when I recognized that one of the biggest things that drove me to that was huge hormone dysfunction in my body. I had the testosterone level of a menopausal woman.
Yeah,
you know, like really, truly, it was horrible. I tried to
real quick. How long? I mean, I think that's an important point. So I think there's a demographic of listeners that can probably relate and just don't know, right?
Yeah.
So you think that you may be changing and maybe like an environmental change where you're like, I'm just pissed off all the time because, you know, something in your life has changed. When in reality, it could be your hormone level.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're tired by the time it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Thyroid dysfunction.
Right. Anything.
Yeah.
So if you can expound on that just a little bit. What drove you?
The full blood work, the full panel.
Yeah. Well, the thing that, after that happened, I was gaining weight, complete sexual dysfunction, couldn't sleep, horrible insomnia, was literally body across the board body dysfunction, right? I couldn't figure out what the issue was. And I don't know about you guys, but I would drink, you know, just to sleep. Like I would drink to go to sleep. It was a frustration for me. And it wasn't an all day thing. It was like time to go to bed. Okay, well, I'm gonna drink until I can't stay awake. And then
it was a nice sleep.
Yeah.
I knew guys, it was a bottle and then marijuana on top of it.
Yeah, and then marijuana on top of it. And so I started a very good friend of mine's, former Navy SEAL. His name's Tripp. He's a phenomenal human being. He had a tactical training company. And he called me Thursday. So Wednesday, at the time, my fiance, she was my fiance that became my wife. Now she's my ex-wife. She lives next door to me on Highway 9, believe it or not. She lives
wow,
right
that's a story.
Yeah.
That's a rabbit hole.
With my daughter.
Yeah.
We'll get to that point.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. Yeah. She left for work. She had finished her second degree as a master's in a master's program, and she was going to work to do prosthetics and orthotics. And so she was doing an internship to finalize her degree program. We were making less than $18,000 a year. I was getting out of the Army. I had no job opportunities for me at the time. I didn't really want to contract. I didn't want to go overseas again. I wanted to be back in the States. And like the only job that I could find really was like flipping burgers at McDonald's. It was, you talk about just the lowest point of your life, man. You go from doing briefings in DC, doing strategic level important operations, making mistakes and stepping on our dick sometimes, because we all do that, right? And then you step out of the military and you're a nothing, you're a nobody, you have nothing. And 9 times out of 10, the people that you have, you love, but we create this distance and separation and space from them, because how could they possibly understand? And if we had just studied Viktor Frankl sooner, if we as a military could learn from Viktor Frankl when we first joined, I think psychologically everybody would be better able in their transition out of the military, and also be better able to understand the actual strategic importance of the tactical level, that first order action, and how it has second and third order effects and importance. So getting out the next day, Tripp called me and he goes, "Hey dude, you back in town?" It was a Thursday. I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just hanging out." He's like, "You looking for work?" And in my mind, I'm like, "Dude, I will lick the shit off your toilet right now for $1. Like I will do whatever it takes to make money so I can make sure my family's taken care of."
Yeah, that's the thing.
And
it's passion.
And he goes, I said, "Well, yeah, what do you got?" He's like, "Well, man, I'm going up to Northern Ohio. Can you come with me and train?" I was like, "Yeah, how long?" He's like, 5 days. Cool. He goes, "This is what I can pay you." I'm like, "That's awesome. I'm in." Sunday I show up, we drive up, we train a shit ton of dudes in Northern Ohio, law enforcement guys. We get done, we come back, and he gives me like twice as much as what we'd agreed upon. And he says, we're not having an argument. You're going to take it. You're not going to say a word about it. You can say thank you, and that's all you can say. You're not going to argue. We're not going to fight about this. And he gives me cash, and he says, "I want you to go buy new pants, and I want you to take mama out to a good steak dinner. I know where you're at, and I know what you're going through right now. This is my investment into you. I want you to be a part of this company. If you're in, I'll see you on Monday. If you don't want to do it, that's okay. Just make sure this helps." And I went back home and we deposited the check. We paid our bills, put food in the grocery, put food in the refrigerator. We went out for a steak dinner that weekend. And Monday I showed up, and I live 3 hours away. I show up like 6 a.m., leave the house at 3. I'm thinking military. These motherfuckers don't show up until 9 a.m. in the morning, banker's hours, Union hours. Yeah, they show up and I'm like, hey, I'm glad you guys made it. They're like, "Dude, you're here. That's awesome." I was like, "Yeah, what are we doing today?" He's like, "Not sure. We'll figure it out." What is going on? And it led to that reach out helped me understand that our value is not in the MOS that we have or the hat that we wear. Our value is in our ability to not only remember the information that we were taught and learned, but to be able to translate that skill set to somebody else. That's the true value that we have, and that's the piece that we're never taught. Like, we have the ability to translate these hard-earned, hard-learned skills to somebody else that might be able to help them get home to their children. And for the next 3 years, I became the director of training, and we train law enforcement officers all over the United States. We train SWAT teams, patrol officers. I started doing speaking engagements and speaking at tactical officer conferences. We opened a CrossFit gym. Like, we went down that road, and then we started doing blood work in that time. Yeah. And that's when we started realizing just how jacked up my blood panels were and how bad all my hormones were. And it wasn't like, I'm not broken. My body physically is jacked up, but I'm not broken. I'm not some broken toy that has to get thrown in the toy box at the end of the day. And I'm also not the identity I thought I was. I'm Adam. My purpose is to create impact in the world, and my mission is whatever it chooses to be. So today, my mission is to be here with you and have this conversation. And that's my mission. And that's how we get to create impact today. And when I leave this place, I get to go and live my purpose again, whatever mission presents itself. I was just in Texas. I'll be back in Texas on Sunday, Western North Carolina. I mean, it's speaking at professional speaking events where you have a monster business conference of people that have never heard a story or watched a video of a dude try and kill himself. So that's what we did. We filmed a video of me recreating my suicide attempt and reading my suicide letter.
Oh, wow.
And we play it as an opener to the speaking engagement. And when it's done playing, you can hear it. Everybody in the room, silence, complete silence. And then I turn off all the lights and I say, keep your eyes closed. And I'm going to ask you a few questions. And then I'm going to ask you these questions. I want you to go with me on this. Don't push back. If you ever know anybody in your entire life that ever attempted suicide or committed suicide, I want you to stand up. 90% of the people in the room would stand up. For those of you still sitting down, if you personally ever thought that you shouldn't be around, I want you to stand up. If you ever thought that you weren't worthy enough or you weren't valuable enough or you didn't have what it took to be who you are supposed to be in your life, I want you to stand up. And by the time we were done, nearly 100% of the people in the room stood up. And you can feel just this, like, you can feel the overwhelming presence of God in the moment. And you turn on the lights and I have everybody look around, and in that moment, people recognize and realize, maybe for once, that they're actually not alone, and that the feelings that they have are not unique to them, and that the battle that they face is not unique to them, and they don't have to continue to tell that story. And then we get into the work. And then we sit down and get into business, and we talk shit about soccer and all the other fun stuff that we do. But that's the reality of it.
Wow.
I think that's I think that's the piece we miss as a community. I think that's the piece that we don't get as a community. And then we have brothers that end up killing themselves because they didn't get it,
Oh, you're 100% right. I think it's always tough and difficult when we see people within the community who look so strong. They put out the outward image. They go on speaking presentations. They talk about the struggle and how they're dealing with it. And the next thing you know, we get the text. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have it all figured out. But that's the other part, is that I think what you're saying too is that we're human. And at the end of the day, we don't have it all figured out either. But if you embrace that side of it, that's already one step in the right direction of understanding. And I feel like in your case, what you're doing is powerful. But what you did was powerful for the people in that room. Hell, for the people that are listening right now.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I've learned so much about human psychology with what we did in the military and afterwards. And one of the things I've come to understand more than anything else is that I don't get to control your relationship with me. I just get to control my relationship with you.
Yeah.
I don't get to determine whether or not you heard what I say. I just get to determine how I deliver it. And so if there's an opportunity to share faith, there's an opportunity to share a story of identity, purpose, and mission. There's an opportunity to just get a little vulnerable, and maybe somebody can click in on that. I can't control the reception of it, but I think we, as a community and people that have a voice in the community, we have a responsibility to be those guys. I'm going to cut up and talk shit. Obviously, we're going to cut up and talk shit. That's what we're going to do. That's how we live our life. And we avoid the hard conversation. That's fucking cowardice. It's cowardice to avoid the hard conversation. It's cowardice to look the other direction. It's cowardice to not share your personal experience because you're afraid of either being judged or embarrassing someone else. By God, stand up with your fucking clothes off and tell your story so that somebody can hear it and recognize that they're not the only ones battling this shit. It's your duty. You're so selfless in your service in the military. You want to be a service to the greater good. When you get out, why do you stop? Being a greater service is not ending your life. It's preventing the lives of others from being taken because they don't know what they don't know. Just like when I got read into I didn't know what I didn't know. And then I got out and I was like, oh shit, I gotta learn some stuff. Now I gotta learn about what managing money looks like. And I gotta learn about entrepreneurship. And I gotta learn about how to provide for my family. And I gotta learn about human psychology. But more than anything else, I gotta learn about me. Who am I? How do I function and operate? Why do I continue to let these stories, like constantly, the self-licking ice cream cone of despair, this cyclical process of negative thought and depressive concepts, why is it constantly spinning in my head? I don't have to let that happen. There's a way to stop it. There's a way out of it. And if you're too fucking lazy to look into it because you're too sad or you're too depressed and I just can't do it today, you're quit being a pussy. Like, I hear you. I understand it. I've been in that place. And also in that place, I recognized that when I failed to kill myself the first time, because it's only happened once, when I failed to do it that one time, it would never happen ever again because I couldn't do it the first time. I failed. And I'm not a failure at shit, which means that the next time I do it, I will succeed, and I'm not going to do it ever because I know better now, you know?
I think the other side of that, you were talking about the individuals that don't come out and talk more and tell their story. I think we as a community, you'd have to agree with this as well. As a veteran community, we eat our own.
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God.
So tell a story, and if you don't tell it exactly the way somebody else views that it should be told, but you went through the door, I went through the window, we hit the same X, but we saw the story differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to call you out and say, nah, it's bullshit. He didn't see that.
Let me tell you about getting eaten by your own. During Hurricane Helene, the operation that we stood up, and we can start from the beginning on that piece if you'd like, but during Hurricane Helene, so September 27th of 2024, the storm, it was a Thursday, the storm came in. And when the storm hit, it cut out a lot of the power, cut out everything. I mean, everything was bad. We lost phone communications with my ex-wife and my daughter Thursday night. We were actually in Texas. We were speaking at another veterans nonprofit event. Friday morning, we still had no comms. So we raced back to North Carolina to get back as quick as it took us 18 hours to drive back. We broke every damn traffic law on the way. Dude, I don't give a shit. We're passing cars on the shoulder. My truck is governed at 96 miles an hour. I'm not sure why, but it is governed at 96 miles an hour. We know that definitively. It's a Ford F-250. Ford, stop governing your trucks, please.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I won't go faster than that.
Not my Ford F-150.
And we no, this is an emotional story too. Sorry.
Yeah.
And we raced back. I was inconsolable for like 15 hours. Inconsolable. Because the river that we live on, their house is only 40 yards away from it. My house is about 100 yards away from it. And that river, the word that I was getting from other people was that it had already washed away 2 towns. And I got a phone call at 5 p.m. from a good friend of mine who is now with our nonprofit. And he calls me and he goes, Adam, hey, where's Toby and Megan? And I said, well, they're at home on Highway 9 along the Broad River. And he goes, oh, shit, dude. Look, I don't want to give you hope. I just got to tell you the facts. It's really bad. I don't know where you're at, but you need to get back here right now. And I was like, dude, I'm driving as fast as I can. He's like, Adam, the reason why I have cell service right now is because I climbed to the top of a mountain, literally the top of a mountain to get cell service. Our house during the wind, the tornadic activity that happened during this hurricane all over the place.
Yeah.
And it shook his house so bad it cracked the foundation. And he says, Adam, it's bad, bro. It's really, really bad. Like, you got to get back here. These dudes have been doing foot rescues. No vehicles could get along the roads. They couldn't even get side-by-sides into these places. Roads completely washed away. Down trees everywhere. No power, no water, no cell, no internet, no communications capabilities anywhere. And that wasn't for a day. That was for weeks. That was the issue. It was 9 a.m. Hey, we're on the way. I'm coming straight there. And then it was like, hey, I'm on the way. I've got this many hours. Go to the cabin. And then it was, hey, I'm on the way. I've got this many hours. I hope you're in the cabin. I hope you guys are safe. And then I said, hey, I talked to your parents. There's water running down their house right now. I try to tell them not to go next door because they were talking about trying to go next door. Don't go next door. And then the next text message was, hey, your mom and dad are staying where they're at. They're hunkering down. They're not going next door. They're safe, but I hope you guys are at the cabin. And I just want you to know that I'm on the way and I promise I'll get there. And it was like that for every message, dude. Like 18 hours of messages that I sent to those two. And the last message I sent was like 1 a.m. And it was, I hope you're alive. I love you guys. I'll be there soon. So we finally got into town, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we tried to cut our way in, and we just couldn't get in. We couldn't get in either direction. And at 1 a.m., I looked at Taylor, my fiance, and I said, I just think that they're dead. I'm just going to assume they're dead. I'm not going to have hope. I'm just going to assume they're dead. We're not going to play this game. Like, we got to go to work. I can't cry anymore. We got to go to work. And I turned into a robot like we do. And we went to fucking work. And we were able to secure a helicopter through literally through the grace of God and an amazing, powerful network of people. And a helicopter showed up at the Harley-Davidson dealership in Swannanoa. It's Harley-Davidson of Asheville. And it landed in their backfield. I have a motorcycle. Love those dudes. They know me. And now we have an even better relationship. And we got in a helicopter and we flew in. We landed in my front yard. And there they came up from behind the tree. Perfect. House was still standing. They were healthy. Everything was good. Beautiful little girl was so amazing. And the house 300 yards down the river from us, gone. Like gone. Completely gone. The whole town, a few miles down the road from us, washed away. It's 40 trillion gallons of water that fell in 24 hours. The hydraulic pressure, they said, the hydraulic pressure was like 3 to 5 times that of Niagara Falls. There's 2,600 landslides, 6,000 miles of roads were destroyed or completely washed away. Over 100,000 homes damaged or destroyed in the storm. The current death toll, I think, from that storm is like 123 in North Carolina. I think that's the number. Don't hold me to that. I know we're still missing, I think, 3 to 4 people from that storm that were washed away from their families. And in all of those things, we just put an all call out. We got back to the Harley-Davidson. We offloaded Megan and Tovey. They went and stayed with her sister, twin sister in town. Taylor and I went back to the Harley-Davidson. The next day, my buddy Johnny Wilson from Texas showed up. He owns a nonprofit called Defenders of Freedom. Coast to Coast. And they specialize in getting special operations soldiers treated for traumatic brain injury. Phenomenal organization. Yes. Johnny's a badass. I love him. He's a one-legged pirate. Like, he's awesome. Johnny shows up, and in the process, we're sending text messages out to everybody through his network and my network. The chief electrical engineer of SpaceX shows up with direct lines to Elon Musk. We had direct comms to the FAA. We had a direct line to Mayorkas, who I'm not a fan of. We had a direct line to Pete Buttigieg's office. Again, not a fan of. However, they made certain that what we needed was taken care of. We had the FAA eventually cut a NOTAM, which is called a Notice to Airmen, that declared our space controlled airspace. That was our controlled airspace. So we had an official airfield.
So they just basically get cars over your entire area and then let you own it.
Yeah, and we controlled it.
That's amazing.
So we controlled air traffic and deconflicted air traffic in our airspace. We had 3,000 volunteers over a 50-day period. We moved almost 6 million pounds of supplies. By the time FEMA showed up at like day 10, we had already moved 2 million pounds of supplies at that point. We ran a total of 2,500 air sorties in 45 days.
They probably just got in the way when they showed up.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. I mean, they meant well. They did.
They tried, well. But I mean, you're organized. You use the skill sets that you had in the military to do what you need to do at home.
Yeah,
you've got that drive and that motivation because it is home.
And soft dudes.
I was going to say, I was waiting for the opportunity. I've never seen so many soft guys arrive at a location so quickly.
Yeah.
From South Florida, from Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, all surrounding areas.
Every special operations unit in the country was represented at our FOB.
Yeah.
And I think every intelligence agency in the United States was represented at our FOB, both active duty, guys on permissive leave, and retired dudes. We had a retired full-board colonel from Asymmetric Warfare Group show up. He had just gotten out. He had direct comms to the commanding general over at AWG. We had direct lines of communication to a multitude of tier 1. I mean, I don't think it'll ever happen again in my lifetime, and that's good. What I saw on the ground and what I witnessed from the special operations community was exactly what every special operator in the country wants to be a part of. Clear mission. Rapidly developing battle space. Literally for internal defense, like it's a fit operation at that point. We had the National Guard embedded with us. We actually were utilizing the National Guard to deliver agricultural supplies to farms that had been cut off without access. So we're using Chinooks to send out big, giant, round bales of hay to get out to these ag farms. We had we worked. How do I say this? We worked with some senior leadership of some people, and I'm being cagey for a reason, that got us the information for the water infrastructure and the rebuilding plan that the county had that they wouldn't release to us, which gave us an understanding roughly of how long it was going to take them to build out the water infrastructure, which was not common knowledge, and they weren't putting it out to anybody.
Clean water. We're talking
clean potable water.
Right.
Yeah. 2.5 or 3 miles of the water mains were torn out of the grounds. 32-inch pipes buried 30 inches below the ground. 2 of them completely torn out of the ground from the floodwaters. So we were like, all right, well, we need to fix the water problem because we're at day 10. Nobody has potable water, and the assisted living facilities are going to be gnarly. So we created a solution for that, and we backfed 3,000-gallon water tanks that were plumbed in 3s together, so 9,000 gallons of water we backfaded into assisted living facilities. We also had a plan, and we had arranged it to tap wells at every school in the county so we could backfeed these wells off of generator operations to backfeed the schools, and kids could go back to school again. And they would have potable water at the school. The county canked it, and that comes into like, well, the county canked it, and then he hired a contractor to do it.
We're not going to go there either.
Not any conspiracy theories or anything.
I know that like Byron Beeplay from down in Florida came. I think he brought some dogs and stuff. Byron Beeplay was with Ranger Regiment.
Okay, maybe.
He
probably has so many people on the ground.
Yeah, maybe.
He came up, and I think he brought some of his dogs and everything as well. I think they were looking for where bodies might
human remains,
stuff like that.
That was a big part of the mission for a long time, was human remains detection. The experience was crazy, but you were talking about veteran community eating each other. USASOC and 1st Special Forces Command, and I don't think I put this out publicly yet, so this is a public interview. USASOC and 1st Special Forces Command were in communications with some nonprofits that focus on Green Berets. And the rumor on the ground was that I was running 1,000 militiamen in order to subvert the efforts of FEMA and the federal government.
What?
Yeah, that was I'm not kidding you, that was the rumor. This rumor made it to USASOC and 1st Special Forces Command, and they were having a conversation about doing tab revocation orders on me. At the same time, there was a rumor by all the grassroots effort that we were embedded with the feds, and we were trying to subvert the efforts of the grassroots organizations on the ground by stealing their supplies. Can't make it up if I wanted to. Couldn't make it up if I wanted to. So this is, you have to remember, there's a federal presidential election.
Financially driven.
100%. There's a federal election cycle happening. President, Congress, Senate, right? There's also a state gubernatorial election happening and a state congressional election happening all at the same time. The vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris, was in office, and FEMA was getting black eyes left and right because the Biden administration had positioned FEMA to be a first response agency, and they fail at being a first response agency over and over again because that's not what they're chartered to do. And so they just weren't with it. Then all the rumor mills on the ground about FEMA stealing supplies. I never witnessed it. I never saw it. I don't think it ever happened. I think it's bullshit. But to that end, you had somebody running for president in the administration getting a black eye, didn't look good. You had the guy on the ground who had the most media coverage just giving it to him every time in a professional way, right? In a professional way. The very first national interview I did, they asked me, what's your opinion of FEMA, and their response, and I said, they're incompetent. If we're talking about FEMA's capability on the ground as an immediate response organization, they're incompetent. They shouldn't be doing it, and they shouldn't position themselves as that.
Yeah, you're not talking shit. You're stating fact.
Yeah, it's a fact. Yeah. And so you want to talk about getting eaten by your own. Now, here's the best part of it is there was a National Guard liaison on the ground. Again, none of the people that I'm talking about are bad people, right? Everybody was doing the best they could do with the information that they had, and they were all playing cover your own ass. Sure. Right? It just is what it is.
Yeah.
There was a National Guard liaison that came on the ground, and he was like, hey, dude, this is what we're hearing. Like, you need to be careful. And I said, well, what are you hearing? He told me. I said, okay, well, Roger, I hear you. Got it. They showed up at our site. There was a 24-hour, 36-hour stand down. Some wacko down in Rutherford County went to a gun store to buy ammo, and the gun store owner was like, what are you going to do with that ammo? He's like, I'm going to go find me some FEMA guys, right? The FBI arrested them 10 hours later. So it was a quick hit and done. Don't know who the guy is. We heard about it from LE, right? We heard about it from law enforcement. They told us. It all that stuff shook out. Anyway, they pulled all the FEMA personnel off the ground. They pulled all the National Guard out, all of them out, and sent them all back to their bases or whatever, their FOBs. And that day, these two guys showed up. It was an Air Force, Air National Guard, and an Army National Guard representative that came out to our location. And we sat down, and the very first thing he asked me, he said, I have to ask you this question. I'm doing it because I have to. Have you now, or have you ever had any affiliation with militia in North Carolina? I was like, we're on this again? We're doing this again? No, I haven't. I said, you see that dude? He's from an intelligence agency. That dude is a tier 1 operator from this organization. That dude is from this organization. That's a former officer, high-ranking officer from AWG. Do you think that this hasn't been vetted yet? Like, honestly, none of these guys would be here if that was the case. Can we please be done with this? And he goes, well, Adam, there's breathing down my neck right now, man, because all the rumor mill that's coming up and it keeps getting talked about, and you're the one that's being talked about. And I was like, Roger that. How do we fix this problem? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, cool. We finished talking. They left. I called a couple of media guys and I said, I want to sing some praises. I need 5 minutes of your time. And they went, okay. And I did a love me piece for the National Guard, because the National Guard was doing an absolute killer job on the ground. They were flying on day one. They were helping us out extensively, and they were getting lambasted in the media because all the locals were just talking mad shit about, where's the National Guard? Why aren't they doing their job? They were doing a great job. They were doing a great job. So I did a love me piece, and we pushed it out. It made national news.
Nice.
I got a phone call the next day. I don't know what you did, but whatever it was, it worked. They love you. And I went, awesome. They deserve what the words that they got. They deserve it because they're killing it. Anybody listening, like, just consider this for a second. If the special operators of this country came together for a 24-hour period and had as many strong leaders from the conventional side, we could overthrow the government in a heartbeat. There's no question. The capability, the ingenuity, the innovation of the individual, the skill sets are unsurpassed by anyone else in this country. And our ability to play your game is equal to you. Like, what we conducted was an IO campaign, an information operations campaign, because I was tired of being backed into a corner. So we're going to play your game. Like, you guys want to put this out? We're going to put this out because this is real. That's conjecture. And we'll do it every time over and over again so we can make certain that people know facts from the ground, not opinions, not conjecture, not rumor, actual facts. And it worked really well. We have a great relationship with the National Guard. They're awesome guys. We have a great relationship with the 18th Airborne Corps. General Donahue flew in and he came to our FOB and we hung out and talked, and we gave him a brief on the reality on the ground. We have a great relationship with the Buncombe County Emergency Operations Center, with the sheriff's office throughout the region, state senators, state congressmen. We met President Trump in the process. I mean, we have good relationships with these people. The thing about disasters that people don't realize, I think, is that the rumor mill's crazy. And man, if you get attention, just be ready for the hate.
It's about where the money comes from. A lot of it.
Yeah.
When you start talking about domestic disaster relief, it starts becoming very political because it's monetized.
Oh, very much so.
So the drive that you had, that IO campaign, wasn't financially motivated.
Mm-hmm.
It was, hey, leave us the fuck alone.
Yeah.
We're trying to get something done. And so because you don't have that money motivation behind it, it drives home.
Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, everything that's surrounding you that either wants to get their hands on it or can't get their hands on it are now, and that drives their motivation.
Yeah.
Because money talks.
Very much so.
If you want the money to come in, you have to action. How come we're not letting these guys come in and do the work? We want the money. We want the funds coming federally. Hey, Adam, stop doing all this stuff that we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Well, don't be jacked up.
Yeah, do it better.
Yeah.
Also, if we look at, this is the other critical piece. If we look at lessons learned, we know definitively that the federal process of cost plus operations does not incentivize innovation whatsoever, and it doesn't have any fiduciary responsibility to the people's tax dollars. It just doesn't. This concept of cost plus over and over again. Well, they're doing cost plus operations for disaster relief CONUS as well, right, in the United States. Why are we doing it this way? We currently have an administration in place that wants to cut cost, create more effectiveness and more efficiency in every agency that falls under the executive branch. Guess what falls under the executive branch? FEMA. And former acting director Cameron Hamilton, in front of Congress, said, I don't think it's in the best interest for FEMA to go away. It's not in the best interest of the American people for FEMA to go away. He left out the contextual part, which is the most important piece. FEMA, as it is, with this extreme amount of mission creep over the last 20 years, is not effective, it's not efficient, and it is operating not in the best interest of the American people. It has to go away as it is, and it has to be reimagined and reoperationalized so that it can do a better job to actually do its job. And we can do it.
Yeah, my opinion is it's just another line of accounting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if FEMA, so yes and no. So FEMA's responsibility under the Stafford Act is specifically supposed to be logistical support and monetary aid under the Stafford Act, right? However, that whole don't use it or you lose it sort of thing has bloated the federal government to an extent that's hard to back from now. But the whole process, so man, yeah, I could talk on this for hours, dude. It just keeps me so fired up.
Oh, I want to go. Let's pivot then. I know, but let's pivot and go to like.
Sorry, Rob. I'm sorry. I've been ranting, bro.
You're good. Like, so South Texas.
Yeah.
Are you guys supporting that?
Yeah, we're down there right now.
And what's that like?
So, the amount of damage is, and people that listen to this from South Texas, please understand that I am not belittling or lessening the amount of damage or the experience that you guys have had, just so you guys know. The amount of damage is not to the same extent as North Carolina. The infrastructure is still mostly intact. So roads are passable. They still have power. They still have potable water. They still have cell service and cell coverages. They still have Wi-Fi. Everybody can leave town if they want to, right? The problem that happened in South Texas or Central Texas Hill Country is the loss of life. Like the loss of life is so hard. The storm came up in the early hours of the morning, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. Waters had already gotten up to points in people's homes where they couldn't get out of their house and actually escape the water. Entire families swept away. And the stories of the heroic stories. There's a little girl. She's 17. Her name's Malayla. I think Malayla.
The camp counselor.
No. Can you? When do you guys check? Is it Malayla? Is it? I want to make sure I get her name right. This is really important. Hold on. So there's a girl named Malayla Hammond. She's 17 years old. The floodwaters are up. Their family are actually leaving to go to a church camp in Missouri, and the whole family's in the minivan. It's dark out, fog's out, can't see, and the bridge they were getting ready to cross was gone. And the dad who was driving didn't see the bridge until it was too late. Drove right into the water. Malayla, 17 years old, is able to get herself to open the door of the van and helps every member of the family out of the van and gets them to safety before she's washed away. And the last thing the family hears of this 17-year-old girl is her singing songs of praise to God as she's washed away by the river. They found her. They found her at a Christian camp. She died. And they found her, and what I heard was that she was in perfect condition. There wasn't a scratch on her. That is, I hope everybody knows her name. That is an inspiring story of love, of family, to the extent that you will do whatever it takes to keep them safe and to rescue them from a 17-year-old girl. I wish we could instill that level of value and that level of love and that level of just familial connection and everybody in this country, and the country be such a better place.
Selfless. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what the battle down there is not. The damage is bad. It's bad.
But it's the human life.
It's the human loss.
It's the grief and the
They've had difficulty because of the mud and stuff from the river that's now, there's human bodies that may be like literally buried. Yeah,
buried and debris and the hard part is that those storms, the floodwaters, it just destroys everything that gets in it, cars and branches and sticks and trees and trash and you name it.
I want to go to you now. Let's pivot to you, because one of the reasons why we rescheduled was because you made a trip to Texas for a different reason. And that was when you went back for the magnetic.
Traumatic brain injury. Yeah.
I want to talk
right.
about that.
Yeah. So
now, you have the stellar ganglion block?
Nope.
Okay, so you didn't.
Nope, didn't do that. Resiliency Brain Health. So Resiliency Brain Health is located just outside of Dallas, Texas. And they work hand in hand with Texas Ballard Project, Defenders of Freedom, and Coast to Coast. These three nonprofits are phenomenal nonprofits. And the founders and CEOs of all three of them are great friends of mine. Resiliency Brain Health does functional neurologic recovery effort, right? So they treat traumatic brain injury rather than trying to punch people full of drugs. They treat traumatic brain injury with functional neurology. So like there's three specific systems that your brain kind of utilizes to understand itself in space. And if these systems are out of whack, then we are constantly in this like reaction, compensation. We're constantly in compensation. So the vestibular system, inner ear, right? The ocular system, the eye, and how your brain perceives space. And then the proprioception. Proprioception is literally your brain's ability to understand where your joints are in space, right? When I went, I had a 20-degree tilt to my head. So my head tilted like this, and I thought this was normal. And I was in my posterior chain, leaning back in my posterior chain all the time. And my body was in this constant state of trying to compensate. And when I went the first time in December of 2023, the treatment that we did was phenomenal. When I got there, the doc said, "I don't know how you haven't had a stroke." Like, I'm blown away. I had so much excess blood in my system. I had so much excess bloat, like just the water weight I was carrying was insane. And I hadn't been to the gym in 6 months, couldn't go to the gym. My heart rate would explode. Like I'd go to the gym and try and do a lift. My heart rate would jump from like 90 beats per minute to 160 beats per minute. I literally thought that if something didn't change, I probably was going to have a heart attack or a stroke and die. By the end of the treatment, those first 14 days of treatment, we were in the gym and I pulled a 455 pound or 465 pound deadlift like I had not ever left the gym. Just stood it right up. Insane. I slept. I've had a headache since I was 27 years old. I went to treatment. Day 4, day 5, Thursday into Friday, the first week. I woke up, I stood up, I walked to the bathroom and used the bathroom. And I went, hold on. The thing is, for most people, you wake up, you stand up, you walk to the bathroom, that's easy, right? No, like I would have to sit up and then I'd have to try and push myself out of bed because I didn't have any strength in my lower body and my hips hurt so bad that I couldn't walk properly. And I woke up and I stood up and I walked to the bathroom and I took a piss. I didn't even have a second thought. And then I looked myself in the mirror and I realized I didn't have a headache. It's the first time since I was 27 years old that I didn't have a headache. The very first time.
Jeez.
It was magical.
Stuff that people take for granted.
Yeah.
Just being able to wake up, stand up, not go to the bathroom doing Sager drills.
Yeah.
Being able to, yeah, exactly.
You're not going to get me, toe missile.
Yeah, that's right. For everybody out there, a Sager drill. Sager is a missile from the Russian army that they used to fire, so you'd have to go back and forth.
Back and forth. Yeah, it was amazing. So we went back after all the hurricane relief effort. Our house got flooded. So when we got back to North Carolina, Taylor lived in a truck, slept in the truck, and I slept on a cot outside. And then we slept in a tent on an air mattress. And then somebody let us use their Sprinter van. We slept in a Sprinter van. Then we had a camper donated, and we were able to sleep in a camper. We moved back into our house like May of this year.
Jeez, wow.
And, yeah. And so for us, like for me, going back to Texas was a critical piece because crap food. I mean, the food was amazing. People took care of us so well, but I'm not going to talk trash about that at all. It just wasn't the kind of food that keeps me healthy, right? Mm-hmm. So you eat what you can, you sleep when you can. Your cortisol levels are through the roof because of all the stress, and the battle just is continuous. And so I got back to a point where like I couldn't remember names again. All of the past symptoms came back, and not to the same extent as they were. But when I got there, I even asked the doc, "What's your opinion?" She was like, "Well, if you came in here at a 1 the last time and left at a 12, you're definitely at like 4.5 comparatively." And I was like, "That bad?" She's like, 100% that bad, 100%. And that just goes to show you that if you don't keep up on the treatment protocol, health, NAD, like minimizing inflammation, all this other stuff, you can revert back to it again.
It's crazy. Wellness is sickness pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like going on a deployment, right?
Yeah, literally.
Getting super healthy just so you can go deteriorate for a little bit and get back from your trip. And you got to
You get another 6 months to get healthy to go get
so you'll
pull yourself up. Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Man, you look so healthy. Yeah, I'm not deployed. Yeah. Man, you look horrible. Yeah, I just got home.
So it sounds like it's got you back on reset. Is this something you're going to have to keep doing periodically? Or?
I don't think I'll have to keep doing it periodically. I've actually I've invested in a lot of the same tools that they have there. So like a vibe table, so you can stand on a vibe plate, like a board that stands on the ground that vibrates at a different frequency, and depending on the frequencies of vibration, it targets different aspects of the body. So
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so you can stand on a vibe plate and then turn it to like 30 megahertz, and it targets your digestion, your gut. So you can help your digestion system and help reduce inflammation in your gut by vibrating at a specific frequency.
So I use what is it, TENS unit?
Yeah.
So I got the power dots. So I've used that for that.
So there's an interesting thing called they call it a rebuilder. That's the company that actually makes the product.
Okay.
And so what we do with that is we take a bucket of water, 2 different buckets of water. You put your feet in there, and you take this rebuilder, and you put the rebuilder, which is like a TENS unit, but it's very specific, and you put that in the water, and you crank that up, and then you turn it up to the point where you can feel it. But I like to push it a little bit. I like to hurt just a touch. Yeah,
always.
Yeah, just a touch. But the purpose behind that is to remind your brain that you have feet. This sounds crazy, right? Like you wouldn't think that your brain forgot that you had feet. When I went to TBI treatment, the doc was like, your brain forgot that you had feet. And there's a reason why you have so much inflammation in your feet and in your lower extremities is because your brain is not processing that your feet are there.
Get out.
Seriously. So like doing this electrotherapy, for all intents and purposes, at a certain frequency wavelength, it interacts with your nervous system and helps to excite all of your nerves in the lower portions of your extremity, which then excites your synaptic pathways because you're firing it in reverse, and it helps reconnect all of that all over again.
You're kind of supporting this whole thing about like when you get off a plane or whatever, put your bare feet in.
100%, dude. Grounding is huge.
Yeah, you take your shoes and socks off.
Yeah, absolutely. Grounding is awesome. So I wake up in the morning, I walk outside I've
been doing that lately, actually, because someone told me.
You want to add to it?
Yeah.
First thing in the morning when you walk outside, you go barefoot. Find the sun, close your eyes, and stare at the sun with closed eyes for like 30 seconds to a minute.
Civilian Dan, that's closed eyes.
Closed eyes.
So I will tell you that one of the things that they do say to help reset your
circadian rhythm
is to, maybe it is what you're saying there for that, but they also said, just look in the horizon of where the sunrise is, and like pick a house or something like that and stare at it for a while. And that'll do the same effect.
So if you stare at the sun, it activates certain hormone production in the body. So rather than staring at it, close your eyes, look at the sun. I like to do it because it warms everything. But it actually activates a multitude of different hormone responses in the body. Oxytocin is one. Dopamine is another, believe it or not. And all of these things are like, they are the thing that kickstart your metabolism. Because you go into a dormant state when you sleep, though your body is trying to reproduce its cells and fix the damaged proteins and things along those lines. You have to have that. But when you kick it in the morning, you want to kickstart your metabolism. This is one of the ways that you can do it. So it's been
you're out there hugging the tree.
Yeah, bro. So much shit sounds wazoo, but I'll tell you right now, bro. Like,
I've got to throw it at you there. So imagine you're on a trip, right? And say you've been outside. It's cold, when the sun starts to come up, but it hasn't crested yet. Bob, big orange ball.
Yeah.
And you're ready for it to come out. And when Bob starts to rise, what do? You stand right in front and you just wait for that sun to hit you as it comes out. And that's the best feeling.
It is.
When you've been laying under a poncho.
Yeah, it is, dude. It's great, man. It is. And you feel better too, right?
Yeah. No, I can believe that part of it. Definitely have felt that. But I'm talking about just the whole, like, I really started getting into this and realizing that it sounds weird, but I could feel it.
Oh, yeah. You can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Also, hot cold plunges. So hot cold transitions with cold plunges at 55 or less degrees in the water.
Oh, man, I can't do that.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. So here's your trick. You get into a hot tub at 100 degrees. Get into a hot tub at 100, 105 degrees.
Yeah.
Right? Sit in it for 3 minutes. Okay. then you get out and you go straight into cold plunge, 55 degrees or less, so 55 to like 40 degrees, straight into cold plunge, and you sit in it for 3 minutes, straight out, back into the hot tub, do like a 5-time cycle. Let me just tell you, holy crap. You want to talk about feeling amazing? Reduces inflammation, it improves gut health, it improves muscular recovery, it improves mental clarity. It helps. I mean, dude, it's magical. It's magical. It works. I promise. I promise. I had a migraine.
Yeah.
Going through TBI treatment this last time, and the doc was like, "Dude, you're pushing it. You're taking," and they don't normally do this. They were like, "It's Thursday. You're taking the day off." I was like, "No, man. I'm only down here for 5 days for this follow up." No. The doc's like, I want you to go do hot cold cycles. I went, okay. So I found this place in Dallas. They have hot cold plunges. I got in the hot tub. I got in the cold, back and forth, 5-time cycle. Then sat in the sauna. Didn't have a migraine anymore.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna start doing the close your eyes and I haven't done that part, though.
He's like, I don't want to get cold. I don't want to be cold. Nah, I don't want to be cold. That's because you got old, Rob.
You know, I know, right. I'm totally like, man, I don't know.
Isn't it about time for you to move to Florida? Like, aren't you at that age now?
I'm from Florida, so I didn't want to sit.
When you're born in Florida, they automatically give you an AARP membership. Right off the
all right, brother. So I do want you to talk a little bit about your nonprofit, give a shout out to it so people can then find out where you guys are located, how they can get in contact with you, learn more about it, and support it.
Well, I'm going to put it out 2 things if you're okay with it. So the first thing is, I do a lot of public speaking. So if you have a business, you have a company, I'm going to look at the camera while I do this. If you have a business, you have a company, and you would like someone to come out and do public speaking directly to your company about resiliency, perspective, team building, team development, leadership, communications, or operational consistency and operational overhauls, so we can actually scale a business, go at therealadamsmith.com and send me an email directly. I would love to come out and help your company. That's one of the things I love to do the most. If you have a desire and you would like to support the nonprofit, please go to savageops.org. You will find us on that website. There's a donate link at the top of the page. You can click that donate link. It goes to an organization, or a company called Zeffy. Zeffy doesn't take any percentage of the donation. It goes directly to the nonprofit, and it's a phenomenal process for us. We're actually currently looking at working with an organization called Give Send Go, another phenomenal organization. It's a Christian-based organization. They're phenomenal what they do. But we would love to have your support. The biggest thing for us with the nonprofit, we had huge success in North Carolina, and then North Carolina became forgotten and donations dried up. So we're still building homes in Western North Carolina right now for people that lost everything. And these people are still living in campers. So we're building homes for them as best we can. And we're also deploying to storms all over the United States in order to provide search and rescue effort, or the unfortunate part of doing the recovery piece on the back end.
Every dollar helps. That's the main thing.
Every penny.
Whether it's $20 or whatever.
Doesn't matter. Every dollar helps, and every dollar, and I said this the other day, every dollar truly helps to help us with the mission of providing closure to families. Because really that's the thing that we want to be able to do, is if we can go out and help find a loved one that's lost, missing, or deceased from a storm, and we can bring that closure to that family, that's God's work. That's one more thing that we can do to be a service to our neighbors.
So if my family gets in trouble in Florida, you're going to come down and help?
Call me.
Oh, you come down to Florida?
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah, absolutely. I'm going to show up in board shorts and flip-flops, homie. That's what we're doing.
Let's go. We'll take it. Appreciate you coming in, brother, driving all this way. It was a long drive and everything, but certainly for sharing your story, especially some of the stuff you talked about really is going to hit home with a lot of guys out there. You're going to make a big impact. Appreciate everything that you're doing out there in the community, as well as what you're doing out there just in the world, man, with North Carolina, Texas, all the stuff that you got going on. Look forward to following you even that much more.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for having me. It's definitely worth the trip.
Appreciate it.
Worth the trip. You guys are awesome.